For a man of his fame and achievement, Professor Ngugi Wa Thiong'o's modesty is remarkable. He has scaled the dizzying height of academic achievement, yet remains humble and mixes easily with the high and mighty, the same way he does with the citizenry. His advice to those who would wish to become great writers is to write, and write some more, and you will get it right. The key to creative writing is in everyone's God-given power of imagination. With at least 40 published books, he should know
the importance of dreams, the importance of imagination. You see, you may not realize the centrality of imagination in our lives. We are nothing as human beings without imagination.
Ngugi was born and grew up at the height of Kenya's colonial era and grew up with experiences of the struggle for independence, captured in one of his latest works, Dreams in a Time of War.
I was born in Limuru. I grew up in a polygamous household. My father had 4 wives. My mother was the 3rd wife of my father. But it's not so much the polygamous aspect that was important to me. It's the fact that actually I grew up with 4 mothers and 1 father, because we regarded all the women as equally our mother. So my mother actually had the big Wajikwago, or Wajikwa, had the biggest impact on my life. For one thing, she's actually the one who sent me to school, although she could not read or write. I can say through the flame that my dream for education was hers before it became mine.
A lot may have changed since the days he first set foot in Kamandura Primary School as a boy, thirsty for education, but the common thread yet remains.
I went to Kamandura Primary School. It was a school which was associated with the Protestant, churches. Then I went to Manguo, which was associated with the independent schools movement. It was a Karenga school. These are schools which were run by African people themselves. Then from there, I went to Kenyagori, another primary school, before I went to Alliance High School in 1955. I left Alliance High School in 1958. I was Makerere between 1959 and 1964.
Recently, as part of the celebration to mark 50 years since the publishing of his first novel, Weep Not Child, he visited Alliance, which contributed greatly to his education and growth.
It's all contained in my book, In the House of the Interpreter. It was a very important period in my life because Alliance High School became for me, a refuge. It's like a refuge. Because see, 55 to 58, war was what going on. The war between the Mamau fighters against the colonial state. That military confrontation was going on all around us. Okay, people being hounded, others killed, and so on. So whenever I went home, I would be confronted with the insecurity of this military conflict. When I went to Alliance, at least it seemed like a safe, like a haven, so to speak. Yeah. And although the class, now looking back, of course, the whole curriculum was English orientated in almost everything. But in terms of some people like the Carrie Francis, the principal, the one thing they had, and we can in fact emulate, they were very principled. And they were really, really dedicated to their profession as teachers. And they really pushed us to do the best we could be. I always value that about Alliance High School.
The reason I'm going back to the day I came to Alliance High School, for reasons on being hearing the news. And then as I went to the railway station in Limuru, in those days, a person from among the Gikuyu, urban Meru, could not travel anywhere without a passbook. So from Kikuyu to here, I had to ask for a pass. But I did not have a pass when I went to the railway station. So other students got into the train, and I could not get there. In fact, finally, I was smuggled into the train, at the end of the passenger train, they used to have a carriage which carried workmen's tools and their sweaty clothes. So I was once smuggled into that, the last carriage among workers' clothes, and said no windows and so on. So I came to Alliance High School in a smuggled, covered with workmen's tools and their sweat.
I got to Makerere in June 59 or July 59, and I lived there in April 1964. Very important, a new country. I never left Kenya before. Meeting Ugandan people, but the propaganda, the whole kingship system there, and so on, But Makerere was important for me for a number of reasons. It was in Makerere that I found myself as a writer. Not only did I do my degree in English, but in Makerere College, I wrote 2 novels as a student, The River Between and Weep Not Child. I wrote 1 play, The Black Hermit. I wrote 2 one-act plays. I wrote 8 short stories. And I wrote 60 pieces of journalism, because even as a student, I was a feature writer for The Nation, and I have my own personal column called As I See It by James Ngugi. The neighborhood. Yeah. I was Makerere. I was doing this in Makerere. Every week I would write a column for the Sunday Nation under the name James Ngugi.
Literature and language are, of course, very important to him. If not well understood, language can easily be used to enhance bondage, as the master goes on to belittle the language and culture of the colonized.
If you know all the languages of the world, and you don't know the language, your mother tongue, or the language of your culture, that is an enslavement. But there is hope. Because actually, if you know your mother tongue and add to it all the languages of the world, that is empowerment.
Ngugi has a passion for championing the rights of the poor and those disadvantaged in society. As a pioneer writer in the region, he may rightly be credited with setting the trail of writers as the conscience of society.
I do actually believe and I still see the same thing approved over and over again. The empowerment of the ordinary person to me is very, very important. Why? Because I came from there, right? I came from there in the sense that my family was a family of small farmer. My father, small farmer. My mother, same thing. My brother fought in the Mau Mau War. I grew up surrounded by workers, by the shoe factory. Workers, Kambas, Luo people, Luya. That's the kind of environment which I grew. When I went to Alliance High School, because the Koyo, Embu, and Meru members could not travel from point A without a pass, I found I did not have a pass. And the train left me on the platform alone, I was smuggled into Alliance High School through the next train, which is a good train, in the last coach, the last, where they put workmen's clothes, their tools, pickaxe and other things for the railway building, and their sweaty clothes, covered in those. That's how I went to Alliance High School. widowless courage. So I remember that, and it's very, very important. Me, I carry my Kenyan passport all the time, and I always put it to this side of my coat because it's close to my heart. I don't put it on this side, I put it on this side.
He also had a chance to talk to the fraternity of the University of Nairobi, where he started as a lecturer in the English department.
When I was employed as a lecturer in the Department of English at Nairobi, all the others were English people. I was the only Kenyan African in that department. And then the syllabus, I found the syllabus is exactly the same one, like the one I did in Makerere, which was a syllabus which had been devised by the University of London. It was an English curriculum in every way. So by that time I started saying, why is it that in Africa, in Kenya, we are beginning with the English literature? That's the beginning. Three of us, we wrote a paper called on the abolition of the English department, right? And that's when there was a change eventually of the department from English department to literature department. And very quickly, the effect of that in the rest of Africa was great, because nearly all department of English are changing. Even though they did not change their names, they changed the curriculum.
Some of his earlier published works in the Gikuyu language have now been translated to English and other languages. By championing the use of African languages, he is not merely addressing the issue of language. It's his way of saying that Africans have a heritage we should be proud of, and one which rightly should contribute to world civilization. For staging Ngahikandenda, the Kikuyu play I Will Marry When I Want, Ngugi found himself detained at the Committee Maximum Prison and later ended up in exile.
In 1977, I was put in a maximum security prison in Committee because of my work at Makerere. And when I was there in Committee maximum security prison, I was in complete isolation. Nobody knew where I was.
Zamani mbele nyumba ya matope ilikuwa natengenezwa hapa. Sasa hii miti ilipandwa 204 wakati alikuwa hapa.
Kulikuwa na watu wengi ambao walikuwa wanahusika na Ngugi Wa Thiong'o. Kwa mfano kuna michezo walikuwa wanacheza na watu wa Kongwe. Kuna watu ninawajua kwa majina akina Jaramba na wamama wengine wa Kongwe. Na hiyo mchezo tulikuwa tunaenda kutazama. Tulikuwa watu wadogo, watoto wachanga, yani vijana.
The struggle for open space and democratization has had a personal cost on him, but he reckons it was worth it.
It's all worth it. Of course, I mean, family life suffers. There's no doubt about it. There are periods when, in the case of my first wife, Nyambura, she carried all the burden, and I, of bringing them up and so on. So I realized that, but on the hand, I'm rewarded. Four of my boys, I call them that way, they are now writers. They publish their own work individually. Some of them, like Mokoma Wangu, he's a professor of English at Cornell University in his own right, and he also is a Nairobi hit translated to Germany, is a bestseller in Germany. And so on, others, Anjiko, Angoge, with the Fall of Saints, they're all becoming known, others, T. Ngoge, with his love and despair stories, as well as, those with city murders. They're all writing. So I feel blessed, despite the difficulties. I feel really blessed, and I'm very happy.
Wajiko Wagoge, who has written The Fall of Saints.
Ngugi takes pride in having inspired many to realize their writing potential, At least 4 of his own children have taken the mantle and gone on to become published writers by their own right.
My book, Seasons of Love and Despair, is a book about the joys, and also disappointments of love. The characters in this book go through what all of us go through when we, for example, think that we love someone and they don't love us. So they go through all those inner conflicts.
I understood what my father might have gone through in his writing. It's a very, very lonely experience because no one can help you. It's just you and your characters, and you have to find the time and the space to do it. And you spend hours and hours and hours writing whenever you find. Sometimes I'll write for 6-7 hours at night. And at the time you don't want it to disturb you. It's like you're lost in this world because it's just you and your characters. Then when you leave that world, you come to the real world, and then you have to go back in. So very challenging, but at the same time very rewarding, because once you see the final product, you're like, wow, this is good.
The Fall of Saints is basically about a woman finding her agency, and it's about this woman who adopts a child. It's a Kenyan woman living in the US. She adopts a child and then discovers that the way the child came to her was through unconventional means. So she decides to, she's quite curious, she loves the child, and she decides to pursue. And just to find out, where did the child come from really, because it didn't come from the adoption agency that she was told that it did. And then comes to Kenya to discover that women are being hired, their wombs are being hired, and not in a good way. And so she's investigating how far that goes. And basically it's a book, it's just commenting on women's rights and women's ability or the rights to hold on to their to have an agency or a say in what they can do with their bodies without. It's also a commentary on how women are being subjected to or how they're suffering under the economic times and so on and so forth.
My most well-received book has been Nairobi Heat in the US. And then it got translated into German. In Germany, it has been a bestseller. And I think a lot of the attraction to Nairobi Heat has been, and also the follow-up, because it's a detective novel. But I think the follow-up novel is Black Star Nairobi. But I think the attraction to Nairobi Heat has been that it's a thriller. It's a detective novel, so it's fun to read. But at the same time, dealing with very serious issues. It's dealing with issues of race, of identity, violence, genocide, and so on and so forth. Then also, I'm a co-founder of the Mabati Prize, the Mabati Cornell Kiswahili Prize for African Writing, and I co-founded it with Lizzie Atri from the Kane Prize. And the prize itself is for Kiswahili writing, and it's funded by Mabati Rolling Mills here to promote Kiswahili literature. But the larger goal then is to promote African writing in African languages.
Ngugi Wa Thiong'O will always remain as an icon in Kenya and indeed Africa's literary scene. He is truly a great son of Kenya and an inspiration to present and future generations.